Are you looking to start using the elements of music more with your music classes this year, but you're not quite sure where to start? In this video, I will show you 5 teaching ideas for the elements of music that will inspire you to teach with confidence. Hi, I'm Julia from Julia Teaching Resources, and I'm a music teacher with over 20 years of teaching experience in the grades 7 to 12 music classroom. Using the elements of music in your lessons doesn't mean that you have boring lessons, and it certainly doesn't need to be difficult to add this essential content either. With these 5 simple lesson ideas, you'll be able to teach the elements of music in a fun and creative way like never before. So let's get started. Teaching the elements of music made easy with these 5 simple lesson ideas. Welcome, and we're going to have 5 lesson ideas for you to use to teach the elements of music. Hi, I'm Julia from Julia Teaching Resources, and my mission is to help busy music teachers like you in classrooms around the world with the resources that you need to teach music appreciation to inspire the next generation of musicians. Now, before we get started, if you'd like a free resource, go to juliajulia.com/makeover your music curriculum, and you'll get yourself a fantastic freebie that gives you 5 different ways to make over your music curriculum, especially if you're looking to change things up, like I know I like to do every few years. From here. Teaching the elements of music can be a challenging task, especially when trying to engage your music students and make the learning process enjoyable. However, with the right resources and strategies, you can simplify and unpack this complex subject and create an exciting learning environment for your students. In this video, we will explore 5 simple, effective lesson ideas to teach the elements of the music effectively. To assist you in implementing these strategies, we recommend that you grab a copy of the mega bundle of listening activities, which includes all of the resources that you will need to teach the elements of music in your classroom for years to come. Now, I'm going to tell you, it's not a cheap product. However, once you have it, you don't need to buy it again. Things don't really change in the world of music in terms of music terminology. It sort of tends to stay the same. What changes is the type of music we listen to. But before we do get into that, why is it important to teach the elements of music? And this is something that is really essential and is part of the foundation of what I teach and how I like to teach, because I really believe that giving my students a strong foundation in the elements of music or the concepts of music, depending on where you are, same sort of thing, different name, it makes a big difference to each of your students, especially as musicians. So in music, there are many skills we as music teachers need to develop in our students. These include performing, composing, and listening. But underpinning all of these skills are the 8 elements of music. On the next few slides are 5 reasons why teaching the elements of music is important for the development of the skills in young musicians. So the first one, foundation of musical understanding. Learning the 8 elements of music, such as rhythm, melody, harmony, dynamics, and form or structure, and the others, provides a solid foundation for understanding and appreciating music. These elements serve as building blocks that help young musicians comprehend the structure and organisation of music, enabling them to interpret and perform pieces with greater depth and nuance. So once they have that language, they can actually use that language to actually appreciate the music and to perform the music, and also then hopefully to compose the music. Improved musical communication. Understanding the elements of music allows young musicians to effectively communicate and collaborate with other musicians. When musicians have a common language and understanding of musical concepts, vocabulary and terminology, they can work together more harmoniously, follow directions from conductors or ensemble leaders, and engage in meaningful musical conversations. Now, there's lots of ways and there's lots of different teaching methods out there, but underpinning it all is whatever method you use is a common language. Now, the common language that I really strongly believe in is the elements of music. Now, I've got a friend who's a drummer, and her language, so to speak, when she's talking about rhythms, even though I don't necessarily speak that rhythm, I know exactly what she means because we have that common understanding of the overall and overarching theories and terminology in music. It enhances listening skills. Studying the elements of music sharpens young musicians' listening skills. They learn to identify and differentiate various musical components such as pitch, rhythm, and timbre. This heightened awareness of elements helps to them to become more attentive listeners, which in turn enhances their ability to analyse, interpret, and perform music more accurately, which is essentially what we want. We want them to have a really strong foundation so that their performances are enhanced in some sort of way. The next one is the development of musicality. So understanding the elements of music aids in the development of musicality, the ability to express emotions, convey musical ideas, and evoke responses from listeners. By studying elements like dynamics, phrasing, and articulation, young musicians learn to shape their performances, creating expressive interpretations that connect with audiences on a deeper level. Now, when we're talking about this, now as a music teacher, I know that, I might have a group of Year 7 students and we're all learning Hot Cross Buns. It's the first piece we get to play, okay? Hot Cross Buns or Baby Shark. That's the ones I tend to do. They like them both, believe it or not, they do. But their sense of musicality in that first piece that we played together as a class is not real good. But it's the beginning. And this is the thing. So when we, after we've performed it and say it's not that great, then I might say to them, well, what wasn't that great about this? And they go, we weren't in time together. Great. That's what we're referring to when we're talking about rhythm. We want to make sure that we are all on the same time signature, all on the same beat, all performing the same rhythms. Okay. And that's what I'm talking about in terms of developing that musicality using the elements of music. Versatility and creativity. A solid understanding of the 8 elements of music empowers young musicians to be versatile and creative in all their musical endeavours. They can experiment with different musical styles, genres, and techniques, and apply their knowledge of the elements to compose their own music or arrange existing pieces. This versatility fosters musical exploration, innovation, and self-expression. Overall, teaching the elements of music to young musicians is essential for their holistic musical development, enabling them to become well-rounded, expressive, and skilled musicians. And I can't express this enough that understanding and having that really clear and solid foundation of what the elements of music are makes for better musicians. And I know that my kids that I've taken through to Year 12, those kids who have a really solid understanding of what the elements of music are and how they can be used in a piece of music are the ones who do better, not only performing, but when they're listening and analysing and when they're composing. And that's what we want is to develop those skills as music teachers in our young musicians. So it doesn't have to be hard teaching the elements of music, but it is more successful if you do certain things, okay? So I'm going to talk about the process that I use when I'm teaching, and this goes for every year level that I'm talking to. So I might start this in Year 7, and then we'll readdress this in Year 9, Year 10, Year 11, and 12. I don't teach music in Year 8 at my current school. I have in the past. I don't know if you've been watching videos, you know why, but I just don't. So if I haven't, it's not that I don't teach or love Year 8, it's just that I don't happen to teach them at my current school. Anyway. So when it comes to doing it, you need these six easy steps. So when it comes to teaching the elements of music, there is not a one-size-fits-all approach, nor a fixed sequence in which each musical element must be taught. So it's not like you have to start with dynamics and then rhythm and then pitch and then whatever. No, you start where you want to start. You start where it makes sense with your students, okay? However, drawing from my extensive 20 years of classroom experience, okay, I'm showing you what that is. I've discovered that the following teaching order has proven successful in helping my students truly grasp and comprehend these fundamental elements. So these are the things that I like to do is I'll choose an element of music we're going to focus on, okay? So the first thing is select an element of music that is the focal point. So whatever it happens to be, all right? So say, for example, I'm teaching my Year 9s. We're doing Australian music. We might be doing large ensembles, okay? So we're looking at that. And so I'm going to pick things like timbre because I want them to know what the instruments are. I'm probably going to pick things like texture because it's the layers of sound, and maybe structure. Maybe they're the 3 things I'm going to focus on. But I don't focus on all of them at once. I'll introduce each one as we go, okay? So then the next thing is to introduce the relevant terminology and vocabulary explicitly. Now, I'm going to have another video. It's not quite ready yet, but if you're watching this after this has actually been released, check on this channel. There will be another one about teaching music vocabulary, just on music vocab. Okay, so make sure that you catch that video if you want to make sure that you can do this easily with your own students. The next one, present real musical examples to allow students to hear or perform the newly taught terminology. Now, whether you do that through performance or listening or asking them to then compose their own, it's up to you. But giving them that experience, either on the instruments or hearing it, performing it or hearing it, will make a big difference. The next one, reinforce the terminology through engaging worksheets and games. So introduce it, have a go at it, and then revisit it. Okay, some people might call it spiral learning, okay, where you keep coming back to it, alrighty, and keep building on it. Same sort of thing. Next one, encourage students to apply the terminology through listening activities. Give them that chance to actually, whatever they're hearing, oh, I actually can identify those things. And the last one, offer opportunities for students to demonstrate their understanding of the terminology through various formative assessments, such as performing, composing, or analysing. So giving them a chance to show what they know. So then you know what you have to reteach maybe. From here. Teaching the elements of music lesson idea number 1, music terminology. As I said just before, there will be another video on this channel about teaching terminology explicitly, but for now, this is just a snippet of what you could be doing. So mastering the terminology or vocabulary associated with the elements of music is crucial for a well-rounded music education. The elements of music terms are essential resources that will make teaching the element of music easier. So each element easier. So the elements of music terms, this versatile resource can be used in a few ways. Now, this particular one, so I'll show you in a minute. You can print them. They're designed to be displayed. That's how they're designed. So like you're watching now, like as in a video, okay, that's the sort of size they're supposed to be. And I would normally display these on my interactive whiteboard, put them out there for kids to actually see. But you can print them. They're colourful. So you could print them in colour if you can at your school, and then use them as a word wall, okay? So for display in the classroom, print them and add them to a word wall, okay? It's really handy to actually do that. Use it as a visual aid while teaching the music terms, simply display on your whiteboard, or you could print them to a page and have your students glue them into the books. Now, depending on how much time I have, sometimes, instead of getting them to write them out, I'm doing this. I'm giving it to them. We're talking about it. We're still doing it, but sometimes we're pushed for time because of other commitments and other things that are happening around the school, and you have to do that. And that's okay, as long as the kids are getting the information. If you'd like to know more about the 8 elements of music, you can watch the video that's available on this channel. I've got stacks of videos on this channel all about the elements of music, so please go and watch each different element there. And this is what the cards look like. Obviously, they're different things. Now, they're different colours for different reasons, and that's because I like to have things color-coded, so that for me, melody is pink, rhythm is orange, harmony is purple, dynamics is red, structure is blue, texture is yellow. What am I missing? Tonality is like a teal color, and timbre is like a green color. Okay, so that it just makes it easy. And the reason also is if the kids are going, oh, what's dynamics? It's sometimes easier to go, have a look at the red ones. They're the ones you're looking for. That's the dynamics terms over there. They're the red ones. All right. Or if they're struggling for something that's for rhythm, go and have a look at all those orange terms. Then what you need is over there in that orange. So again, I found that much easier as a teaching tool to have them different colors for the kids. And it's funny that those colors stick with them. They just tend to stick with them. Number 2. So teaching the elements of music lesson idea number 2, games and activities. So another strategy for teaching the elements of music with your classes is to give them a chance to use and apply their knowledge in a fun way. The elements of music memory cards are perfect for this. There are a couple of fun ways to use these cards, and this is listed on the next slide. So let's have a look. So print and laminate several sets. Now, I like to print lots of different version, like different colors sets. So I'll have maybe, because usually my classes are pretty big. So if you've got up to 30 kids and you want to have 5 or 6 groups, you're going to need to have 5 or 6 sets. It's much easier to do that. So I print and laminate them. It does take a while, but honestly, the sets that I created probably about 10, 15 years ago, I still use. So once you do it, it does take a while in the beginning, but you've got them forever and you don't have to replace them because you just don't. Anyway, print and laminate several sets of the terms and definitions separately. So when you do this, you get the cards and you can either fold over the paper and have the term on one side and the definition on the other, or cut them out and so that there's 2 different cards, 2 different ways to use it, okay? Put your students in small groups and have them play the classic game of memory. So if they're separate, just flip them all over and they do memory, okay? Try printing each set onto a different color to make it easier when sorting and storing in the classroom. And that's another reason I like in different colors, because I can see that there's the blue set, there's the yellow set, there's the pink set, whatever. Makes it much, much easier. Or put numbers on them or something. Now, you might think, oh, that's a bit babyish. I can tell you, I have played that with my year 12s when they've sometimes, struggling with some concepts and some terms. And I go, okay, it's time to do this. And they love it. Honestly, they really don't mind. And they do learn and they do remember that these terms this way because it's interactive and hands-on. So don't think it's just for something that's for younger years. I've used it with year 7s, year 9s, year 10s, year 11, year 12, all class. Next way. Print the cards, fold them over, print it out, fold them over. So the terms on one side, definitions on the other. And then laminate again for durability. These cards can now be used for other games like alphabetical order, or even used in combination with the elements of music mind maps for listening activities. So the mind maps, if you go to my blog or here on this channel, you'll see mind maps are everywhere. And that's, again, another strategy for helping the kids with the elements of music. But get the kids to actually map things out or put the terms out there. Or simply just let's have a race to see who can put these terms in alphabetical order the quickest. Or if you've got, say, tempo cards, let's do the order, who can go from slowest to fastest. You can, and there's plenty of other games too, which I'm not going to get into. But honestly, there's so many different ways to use those cards, and it really helps help with the kids learning everything. The elements of music definition worksheets are another way to reinforce the terminology that you are studying and using in class. These simple worksheets include a variety of activities for each of the 8 elements of music. The activities include 1-page definition worksheets. My kids really like those for some reason. I don't know why but they did, and they found it quite relaxing, and they did remember it, and it was a nice way to put it into their books. And when they coloured them in and added images to help them remember things, they tended to really remember the actual terms. There's obviously things like word searches, unscramble the term, alphabetical order, code breakers, and match the definition and term. And the other thing I like about these different particular worksheets, alrighty, and what the variety of activities is, I'll print out whatever. So some classes, they're interesting. Let's just say that. And sometimes you can't teach from the front. You just can't. So you sometimes have to give them a whole heap of activities that they can do independently. And these are perfect for that. Okay, so that they're getting something, they're actually still learning something. It just happens to be that your sanity is also saved. So these are the particular, the cards there. So that's it as a page when you print it out. Now, obviously, they don't look like that when you've got them. So give me 5 seconds. So here's the actual elements of music cards. You've got them there. You can see them. That's what it's printed out. And so here's some of mine, and you can see I've just got it in the thing ready to go. And so, all right, that's a set. So I can print them out, have it like that. Now you can actually, these are ready to go. So I've cut it out so that it's like that. But I literally fold the whole page in half. But when I laminate it, that term's going to be on one side and the definition is on the other. Or if you actually happen to do it so that you've cut them, okay, so they're in 2 different ones, you can play different games with them. So I don't know, you probably can't, well, you can't see, but there's a whole heap ready to go here, which I haven't done, which literally just need to be laminated and so that I can actually use them in class. I tend to store those in those task card things, or what we call here in Australia, those Chinese containers, those plastic tubs. That works really well to store them as well. number 3. So teaching the elements of music, idea number 3, listening worksheets. My favorite thing to do. Okay, so the next strategy for teaching the elements of music is to have your students to start applying their knowledge through listening activities. So this is when you really get to see if what you've actually taught has stuck with them. The elements of music listening worksheets provide your students the chance to study any piece of music that you choose, whatever's going to engage them, in a focused way through guided listening questions based on the elements of music. And each of the elements of music listening questions, each set for each one, so for each of the 8 ones, you get these. You get the glossary of terms, which is essentially just those, like those cards, but just in one worksheet, one big list. You get 10 different listening questions, easy to difficult, and you also get a suggested list of music to listen to study. But you don't have to use that list. That's the thing. If you happen to be studying Baroque music and there's no Baroque music on that particular list, well, you can find a piece of music for it, okay? It's up to you how you want to do it. But the thing is, it doesn't matter what piece of music you choose. You can choose any piece of music, choose an element, and use those questions. And if there's sometimes something you can't answer, that's okay, because it's really good for the kids to know that not every single element of music is used extensively in every single piece of music. It's just not possible. So this is what they look like. And the other thing I like about these, so essentially you've got number, each of them has, number 1 is always the easier set of questions. Number 2 is a comparison. Number 3 is the harder set of questions. Number 4 is a comparison using those harder set of questions. And then the rest of the questions and all the other worksheets are for things like unity, similarity, differences. I can't remember, but different ways that you can actually use it. And again, you choose what's going to work. You might have in one class some kids that can only cope with questions, the easier questions. And you might have to say, just do these ones. Whereas you've got other kids who are actually can well and truly extend and do the harder questions. Do that, okay? Number 4, teaching the elements of music, lesson idea number 4, the listening assessment. Again, another fun thing to do. Well, I think it's fun. Kids don't always, but it really shows me where they're at, okay? So the next strategy for teaching the elements of music is to assess where your students are at. You can do this in several ways, but one of the best ways is through the listening assignment. The music analysis projects, which I'll show you in a minute, increase in difficulty and can be used with any piece of music that you or your students select for study and analysis. Now, these assessments are all sort of created and designed based on the questions that you just saw in the listening assignments. They all tie in together. So each music analysis project builds on the skills from the previous one, but they are also great for differentiation in the music classroom. You'll always have some students who require a little support, and you will also have others that might need some extension. And this set is designed with that in mind. So again, I've had some kids, I'm thinking back to a class that I had last year, some kids who would have been like amazing, they're on this end, and there's other kids who are on this end. And I just basically had to pick them up wherever they're at. So these ones I was extending, and these ones I just gave them what they could handle. And I'd literally say, okay, sweetheart, these are the questions that I want you to do. You do what you can do and just show me what you do know, okay? It wasn't about it because that's all they could do, and that's okay. So for this assessment, you can choose which pages you have your students complete, and you can either choose the music style or genre to be studied or for higher engagement with the assessment. Let your students choose the music that they want to study. But of course, you're going to have to put limits on the music. There's always going to be some kid who wants to have some sort of music that's probably not appropriate to be used in school. Okay, might be fine. You want to listen to that at home, but we can't have that at school. So, that's something you have to put on those limits. And I know in the past I've had to say to kids, okay, before you choose your music or when you choose your music, I need to be able to hear it first. Let me see it. I'll look up the lyrics and go, yes or no, or maybe do another version of that song, please. And this is what it's like. So you get a cover page and you get different questions and you get a task description, so what they're actually supposed to do. And again, it's up to you how many pages you want them to complete. It could be an in-class assignment, it could be an at-home assignment as well. It's up to you. So if you're looking for more ideas on how to actually assess your kids in the classroom, because I was only just talking about listening there, but I've got a whole stack of them again on another video on this channel called 12 Formative Assessment Ideas to Use in the Music Classroom. And I go through performance, composition, listening, and music appreciation. So I give you ideas for all of those things. So the last one is teaching the elements of music lesson idea is using mind maps. Okay, again, another thing I love to do. I love that visual thing. So I can't help but teach that way. The final strategy for teaching the elements of music is to use the elements of music mind maps. This is another versatile resource that can be used in many, many ways with your music students. Some ways to use the mind maps are listed on the next slide. So I tend to put these into my assessments as a way to get kids to plan. All right, so plan for the composition. How are you going to use? And again, if you're only using, if I go back to the example I was doing, timbre, structure and texture, I'd probably only put those 3 mind maps in and say, well, how are you going to plan for that in your composition if that's something you're focusing on? You don't have to give them all the elements of music. Again, go back to what you're really wanting to focus on and only concentrate on that. So planning compositions is a great way to use the mind maps. Planning and analyzing performance pieces. Okay, so for my seniors especially and my 9s and 10s, I will actually get them to tell me how are they using the elements of music in their performance piece. And sometimes it's a really great way, because if there's kids that say, well, how can I get better marks? I say, well, let's look at your plan. Let's look at what techniques you're using in the first place. And we might have gaps, and we go, well, we have a gap in texture. How can we make your performance piece a bit more interesting in texture? And so it's a good talking and starting point to improve and reflect and all those sorts of things, evaluate. Planning and analysing listening activities. Again, I use the mind maps with my year 12s, especially. They have a big assessment that I get them to do at the beginning of the year, and I give them 12 pieces of music they have to analyse. And part of the thing they have is that in that analysis is planning, and they have to plan because they're supposed to give me a perfect answer. They don't always, but they try. Some do. But part of the planning is using a mind map, and it's a great way to do it. Mapping music terms. Again, if you're using these terms, these things along with a mind map, and you go, okay, here's all the terms, here's the mind map, group them. How do you think they should be grouped? And then it's a great activity then to go do that in small groups, and then go, okay, let's go and have a look at what other people, how they've grouped them, and then they come back and see if they need to change things. Another one is to map music terms they can hear in a piece. Again, using the same thing, put on a piece of music, have the terms all out, and what can they hear? So especially like performance techniques with timbre as well, like what instruments could they hear, what performance techniques they're being heard, what are the dynamics, what's the tempo, so many different ways. Great for group work, okay, the mind maps, and also really good for the individual. So there's a lot of ways to actually use them. And here are some. Now, these are the blank ones, which are the free ones, which I'm going to give you some information about at the end of the video. But these are the free ones, which go with everything that's on my website or here on this channel about each of these. So in rhythm, it's the things that you look for in melody, instrument classification, elements of music. They're all there, but you can buy these as well, colored versions and different. I've got lots of different versions in my store. So teaching the elements of music can be made easier when you follow and use these 5 simple strategies. By selecting a focal point and introducing the relevant terminology explicitly, students can develop a solid foundation. Real musical examples reinforced through engaging worksheets and games provide practical application. Encouraging students to apply their knowledge through listening activities and offering various formative assessments allows them to demonstrate their understanding. To further support your teaching resources like the elements of music terms, the games and activities, listening worksheets, listening assessment, and mind maps are also, don't forget, they're available in my Teachers Pay Teacher store. By implementing these strategies and utilising the provided resources, you can create an enriching music education experience for your students. If you'd like some more ideas, don't forget you can grab that freebie, Make Over Your Music Curriculum. Okay, 5 ways to make it over, juliagia.com/Make Over Your Music Curriculum. It's a free resource. And if you'd like the free mind maps that I've just showed you, okay, go to juliagia.com/free mind maps, and you'll get yourself again, put in information and you'll get some free mind maps sent to you directly. And if you'd like to know more about the elements of music, don't forget there's stacks on this channel as well as on my website at juliagia.com. And if you'd like to buy any of the resources that have been mentioned in this video, go to my Teachers Pay Teacher store, Julia Teaching Resources. And if you've got this far, thank you so much for watching. So I hope I've given you 5 ideas that you think are doable and that you can actually use in your classroom this year coming, or whenever you happen to be watching this video in your next lesson. So you might want to actually increase your students' vocabulary, and you're thinking, how am I going to do that? Well, this is some of the ways that you can. It doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be difficult. But the thing is, you've got to get them started. And if you want your kids to improve as a musician in their listening skills, composing skills, performing skills, then the elements of music is the underlying framework that you really need to use. Okay. Until next time, I'm Julia from Julia Teaching Resources. Thank you so much for watching, and happy teaching. Bye.